Welcome to the Spheres of Spirit with Nancy Myers, aka the Lady of the Light. Nancy will discuss the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit which surrounds each of us, waiting to be discovered. She will share some of her remarkable orb photos, proving that our angels, guides, loved ones in spirit, and even pets surround us and guide us in our physical world. During this episode, Nancy will discuss one of the many spheres or aspects of spirit available to us based on her orb photography. She will also share a special channeled message from her guide, Leonini, and do an oracle card reading to help guide you along your personal spiritual adventure. And now, here is your host, orb photographer, author, medium, and speaker, Nancy Myers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. This show is called The Spheres of Spirit, and it's discussions of the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit. For some of you who have listened to some of my other shows, you know that my mantra is, with God, all things are possible. What does that leave out? So I have a very open mind. I always look for ways to grow, for new things to learn. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have a special guest. Her name is Sev Tok, and I'm going to bring her on in just a minute. But I wanted to tell you why I have Sev Tok through a picture of my orbs. So if I could bring on the first slide. So what I do is I take pictures. I'm an orb photographer. And when I get an awesome orb, then I look for a quote that seems to inspire me. And with this one, it's a beautiful powder blue orb. And the quote that I attach to it, it says, "We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are." Max Dupree. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if I could welcome my guest, Miss Sev Tok. And we're waiting for it. There she is. Hi, Sev.
Hi, Nancy. Hello, everyone who's listening and watching. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to have you join me on this show. And I just want to acknowledge some people are typing messages and I can see them. If you ask a question that we can address, we will address it live. But right now I want to say hi to Sarah. Thank you for joining us. So Sev is a special guest, and she's a special guest because she's a speaker, an author, and a spiritual counselor. As an author and speaker, she discusses consciousness, the personal energetic matrix, the quantum matrix, and the direct relationship between life on Earth and life in the cosmos. Wow. But first, Sev, can you tell us, before we talk about these energetic matrices, that's not easy to say, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am originally from Istanbul, Turkey. I came here as a little girl. I came with my parents. First, we came to Canada, Montreal, and then we came into the Washington, D.C. suburbs, which is where I did most of my growing up. And I did not learn English until I was 7 years old. I went to first grade not knowing English.
Wow.
And I do believe because of that, I honed in on my psychic and paranormal abilities because I didn't understand what was being said around me. So I was just picking up information from people and just using my telepathic skills and also my ESP skills just to understand what was going on. So I do believe that has something to do with why I have gone into the field of the paranormal and why I love to talk so much about how we have these abilities. All of us have these abilities to use our ESP and our telepathy and all the other interdimensional, multidimensional qualities.
That is really interesting. I was going to ask you, because your name, I love your name, Sev Tok, but it is unique. And so that answers a lot. Is Sev short for anything, or is that?
Yes. Sev is short for Sever, Sever. But Americans like to call me Sever, and I do not like that. So I go by Sev. And Sever Part of it's for my mom's name and part of it's for my dad's name, and they put it together. And it means to love, and so does Sev. Sev means to love. And my last name, Tok, means full.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's, and that was really interesting to just hear how you developed your psychic ability. It's almost like it was a survival thing for you to do. I've never heard that kind of twist on it, that I had to in order to survive in my new environment. That was very interesting. Well, what we're going to talk about today mostly are the matrices. And, for me, when I thought of a matrix, of course, I go right to the movie, with Keanu Reeves, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. It's not that kind of matrix. So I looked up matrix, the meaning, and the meaning of matrix says, or the definition is something within or from which something else originates, develops, or takes form.
Yes.
So if my first question to you then, can you explain to us what is the matrix that you're talking about?
Okay, so there are a variety of matrices or matrices. It's
Matrices.
either one. It could be
That's
either
easier to say. Matrices. I'm using that.
Yeah, okay. And there's scientific ones, mathematical ones, but we're going to be talking about energetic ones. And according to the definition, matrix is something that develops from something else. So what we're talking about is energetic matrices that develop from your mind and from your belief system.
Oops, she froze. We're going to give her a minute. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We're having trouble with your connection. Yeah.
Am I back?
You're back. So you're going to have to go back to describing the matrices.
Okay. So did you hear the part where I said there's a variety of matrices?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the energetic ones. The energetic matrix that is created from our minds and from our belief systems, which actually design our reality and design our lives. So we're going to be talking about the quality of your belief systems, the quality of your thoughts, the energy that you allow yourself to sit in every day, and how that creates this energetic system around you. There's so many different types of energetic matrices. Since everything is an energetic being, everything has an energetic matrix. And there's a variety of them. There's an unlimited amount of matrices actually inside of you and around you.
Wow. So is that similar to the conscious web, or is that totally different?
Well, that's a matrix too. And the conscious web, is that the same thing as the collective consciousness? Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to
okay.
I'm reading the messages too. So I just want to say hi, Bonnie. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Bonnie.
So now I read that you talk about the various matrices of the human body and beyond that affect us. How do you integrate? You talk about the heart matrix and the mind matrix. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Okay.
And how they affect each other?
When the heart and the mind work in unison, that is when you're actually the most fulfilled and when you are manifesting your purpose. And the heart matrix, the mind matrix, when they're combined, I call that your power matrix. And it is through your power matrix that you're actually able to manifest your purpose and create the life according to your standards. And so the heart is really what guides us. Many of us have chosen to ignore our hearts, have chosen to ignore the messages that our heart gives our mind and the messages that our mind gives our heart. There's a direct relationship there. There's like a highway of information that goes between the two. And when the two are in unison and collaborating with each other, And when we're conscious of it and when we listen to that communication, that is when we find ourselves to be the most successful, the happiest, and the healthiest.
So if you're just in your mind matrix, are you more in the physical? Are you more in the everyday stuff and you need the heart to balance that out and to allow you to expand?
Well, there is a difference between the mind and the brain. So the mind is interdimensional, multidimensional. The brain is more 3D. The mind gives the brain orders, and then the brain takes those orders out and does whatever needs to be done to the body. So I differentiate the mind and the brain. I say the mind is the general and the brain is the like the
Soldier,
yes,
like the
the
soldier.
soldier. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So,
so your mind matrix isn't necessarily grounding you in the 3D because your mind exists in all the dimensions everywhere. So if you're solely in your mind, if you're only in your mind, you could be what some people call just living in the clouds or just out there in woo-woo land. So it is important to be grounded, and your heart tends to ground you because your heart is telling you, this is what I need to do in this life. This is what's making me happy. This is the person I want to be with. These are the careers that I want to have. But many of us have chosen to disregard the messages from our hearts.
why do we do that?
We've been conditioned to do that. I can only talk about the American society.
Oops. We're going to come back to her. If you broke up a minute, so let me wait for your connection to catch up. If we could bring in the next slide, I just wanted to show this. So this next slide, hold on one second, Sev. I lost you for a minute, so I'm just going to go to my slide and I'm going to come back. Back one, Chris. Thanks. So this slide, it says, and this is what Sev was kind of talking about, is we have this ability to create our own reality and tap into our own matrices, and we're going to talk about that more. But this says who you really are is much greater and more magnificent than you ever could conceive. And that's from the book, one of my favorites, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And he was talking about that from a higher perspective. And he's telling us, you have no idea the power and the creative power that you have. So thank you, Chris, very much. So Sev, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So we lost you. So that's why I went to the slide.
Sorry. Okay.
So I was asking you why we ignore our heart, why we ignore that. And you said you started to say because and you can only speak for America, and then you cut out.
Okay, so we're conditioned to ignore our hearts. Even though we're told, follow your bliss, we're not supported. We are actually supported to be victims. Victims pay attention to things that really don't matter. The government likes to tell us what to do. And we're also conditioned to live a certain type of life in a certain type of way. And for many of us, that just really goes against what we really want. It's a conditioning that we're used to, but
oh dear, I apologize to the audience. Hang on with me one second. This isn't going to work. Sev, are you there? Can you hear me? Sev, can you hear me?
oh yeah, I'm here.
Are you there?
Can you hear me though?
Oh, you're back. Is that you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're having a really hard time with your connection, and you just totally blanked out there for a couple of minutes. So let's talk about our power to create our own matrices, and how do we do that?
All right. So it all stems from the mind and your belief system. And so every thought has an energy to it. Everything has an energy to it, including thoughts, including information. And so it's important to do a self-study to discover what are the predominant thoughts that I have about myself and about the world and my role in it. And so if we're balls of energy and we're radiating energy all the time, and everything can subconsciously read the energy that you are radiating. We're like walking billboards of our belief system. Can you hear me?
Yes, keep going.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
I like that you said we are walking billboards of our energy. I went, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everything in our life, from your career to who you're with, to your friends, to your spouse, to where you live, everything is in your life because the energy of it is aligned with your energy. So if you want to change anything about your life, you have to tweak your energy so that you start aligning with different people or different careers or different places. So the best way to look at where you're at is step back and look at your life from an observer's point of view. What does it look like? Is it filled with happiness and joy and creativity, or is it filled with difficulties and resentment and jealousies and drudgery? And if you want to make any kind of change, it's very important to realize what is it that you're thinking, that you're emanating, so that you're aligning with more of that. And that is an energetic matrix. It's also known as a biofield.
Ah, okay. So it's kind of like attracts like, right? You know, if we're negative or not happy, it's almost like that's the magnet we become. Is that similar to what you're saying?
I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah, you're choppy again. We're going to try and get through this. Okay. Are you there? I think we totally lost her this time. Now you are. There you are.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. Would it help if you turned off your video? I know then people
Probably.
just have to look at me, but
Yeah, I can
at
do
least
that.
we could hear your voice. Maybe that would
Okay.
help. Let's try that for a minute if Chris likes that. Can you hear
Can
me?
you hear? I can hear you. Is this any better?
It seems to be a little better.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Oh, good. Okay.
Very
So
good.
we'll work with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have said that designing your matrix is a natural ability. Everybody can do this. Can you talk about how we do that and how we tap in?
Well, we're subconsciously doing it all the time. Your life is completely created by the energetic matrix that you've created around yourself, that you've developed around yourself. So we're unconsciously manifesting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So what's important is to consciously manifest. That way you can tweak your energy field, and that way you can change and alter your life according to the standards that you want. And the awareness is number one. So number one, awareness that you can even do this, awareness that you can tweak your energy field, awareness that you even have an energy field. Then the second thing to do is, and this isn't easy, a lot of people don't like to do the deep self-exploration as to why do I have these feelings or these belief systems about myself. There are actually people who do not want to be happy. It's hard to believe, but there are people like that, and they push happiness away from themselves.
Wow.
So are you one of those people? There are also people who think it's okay to settle for less than what they want. Are you one of those people? There are also people who think that they're not worthy of achieving the kind of life that they want. And this comes from conditioning from family and friends and society. So after the awareness that you have an energy field and that you can design it to design your life, next comes the self-exploration, the deep study. What energies am I putting in my energetic matrix that's then radiating out into the world and bringing more of that to me? So you can read all the spiritual books you want. You can do all the meditating that you want. But if you're not investigating your personal belief system about yourself and your role on this earth, you're not going to achieve the success and the progress that you're really looking for.
Wow. Yeah. I tell people, being on a spiritual path it's a lot of work.
It sure is.
It's not a one and done thing. I've meditated for 5 minutes in the corner. Okay, I'm enlightened. That's not how it goes. But I've also, what I kind of liked what you said is it can be as simple as changing our thoughts, right? Instead of looking for, I think we all have these people that we know where everything is negative, everything has a problem,
Yes.
everything is a struggle. And Chris just said
That's funny.
ascension isn't for sissies.
That's
Thanks,
so
Chris.
true.
That is true.
Ascension, it's for the brave.
Yeah. And people that aren't afraid to change and to look at themselves. That was the hardest thing for me when I started on this path, was to take, like you said, a hard look at myself. What was I thinking? How was I thinking? What was I grateful for? What was I angry at? And and that's not easy to do, but it does change everything around you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So what really prompted me to just internal exploration was my second divorce. So I've been married twice, and they were both abusive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And after this,
Oh, we lost her again.
okay.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so you were talking about your divorce.
Two marriages that were. Hope you can hear me okay now.
Go ahead. Every time you start to talk. Okay, so.
Okay. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's me. Me, it's not. That's when I started reversing my victim energy, my victim vibe, my victim belief, because I was the best victim in the world. I thought everything was happening to me. I thought people were being mean to me. How can everyone be so mean? Once I started to reverse that, my life completely changed. And I do not exude, well, to the best of my abilities, a victim vibe anymore. And I've seen my reality manifested in a much more pleasurable way because of it.
Yeah, and with that, Chris, if we could bring up slide 3, give me just a minute here, Sev, because this fits right in with what you were talking about. This is a beautiful, warm, golden glow orb. And the quote that I put with this: happiness consists not of having, but of being. And it's a warm glow of the heart at peace with itself. Thank you, Chris, for that. So I think that fits in with what you're saying. It's how do we find happiness? Either exists within us or it doesn't. Would you agree?
I think happiness is always there. You just have to be aware that it's always there. I didn't know it was always inside of me. I was always looking for it outside of me, but I was looking in the wrong place. It exists inside of us. And so does power. We're very, very powerful, empowered people. That resides in us too. We don't have to go out looking for that. We just have to acknowledge it and then tap into that frequency, that energy that we have inside of us.
And when we tap into these matrices, then, just so that my audience understands, does it start with a change in our perspective, the way we think and look at things? Is it as simple as that?
Yes. So it's just like you're making anything with ingredients. So what ingredients are you going to put into your energetic matrix? Positive, healthy, good ingredients, or bad for you, negative for you, sickly ingredients? Just like food, you can think of it as food. You're going to put good food inside of you or bad food inside of you, and look at your matrices like that too. Let's just talk about just the one power matrix. That's what I like to call the matrices of the heart and the mind, because that's what really powers our reality and our lives. So what ingredients are you putting in there? Which means, are you honoring your heart? Or are you ignoring your heart? What is your mind telling your heart? What is your heart telling your mind? Are they debating each other? Is there a wish that you have for yourself, a dream or a desire that you have for yourself that you know would make your heart sing, but your mind says, oh, forget it. You'll never do that. You're not good enough for that. That'll never happen to you. And so that is a disconnection and a misalignment between your heart's message. When your mind talks to you like that, that is really conditioning from outside. Because when we're born, when we're babies, we don't talk to ourselves like this. Our mind and our heart are completely in tune with one another. It's not until we start to get older. When you look at little kids, you can see that their hearts and their minds are totally entwined. It's not until they start school, or it's not until they
adults tell them otherwise. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You were talking about, eating and a good diet, and it's like we are what we eat, but we are what we think.
Oh, without a doubt, your life represents what you think. So when you see somebody, if you know somebody whose life you admire or you think has a high quality, high caliber life, instead of being jealous, investigate what are their thoughts. We're so busy being jealous of other people who have what we want instead of interviewing them. Well, how did you get this? What is your thought process? Yes, we should be doing more of that instead of being jealous of people.
Yeah. We should. Yeah. It's when you have good friends and they're truly happy for you when you have success in whatever it is, you'll know those are good friends than the ones who are jealous. So it's I kind of use that as a reminder. I want the kind of people that rejoice in my joy, and I'll do the same. But
and actually there aren't a lot of those, but as you raise your frequency, you will align with people of a higher frequency who are not jealous and who do want to help you. That's another reason it's important to tweak your frequency so it's of a higher vibratory rate, so you can align with people who do want to help you, because none of us can make our dreams come true alone.
That's true. When I come back, I have to take a little break. When I come back, I'd like to talk more about how spirit and how the universe then works with us to bring us these things. And then I'm going to talk about how Sev, we heard a little bit about it, how she discovered the matrix and working with this. But I think there's some other areas that we might want to talk about, right, Sev? So we'll see you in right after this break. Hang on.
Okay.
Be right back.
OMTimes TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure,
Pure love.
love.
And welcome back. So we were just talking with Sev about how your vibration affects, or your thoughts, your matrix, and what you put into it affects you in your world. Sev, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I had discovered as I did the work on me is I learned about who it was that I would want in my life. And it happens naturally. It's not a mean thing, but it happens almost organically. You let go and are grateful for the people who had been in your life up to that point. But then you start attracting people on a different level. I don't want to say caliber, but who are in a different space. I have one of my favorite sayings is, you can't talk butterfly language to caterpillar people. So you have to then move up. Your tribe moves up. And I tell you this, and I want you to expand on this too, Sev. I now have the most amazing people in my life who I wouldn't have had I not changed the way I thought, the way, I how I look at things, how I am. And gratitude is big. Gratitude is big in this. Would you accept that gratitude is huge?
Oh, it's primary, because when you're grateful for something, you're showing it respect, you're honoring it, and you are sharing your love to it or with it. And that is a high frequency.
Yes, gratitude is a very high frequency. It's almost. You're breaking up again. Do you? Yeah, I was just going to say. I'm sorry. I was
Yes.
just going to say gratitude is a high frequency right up there with love. Is that what you just said?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. So let me ask you a question. Now you said that you had to develop your psychic and intuitive, even mediumistic, I'm assuming, abilities for survival when you were little. You communicated with people differently, is really what you did, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then when did the matrix how did that expand? I'm going to go into a little bit different side of Sev that we haven't talked about. But how did that expand, Sev? So go ahead and tell us about that.
Okay. Well, about 12 years ago, I started my spiritual practice where I conduct soul purpose readings and soul support and mentoring sessions. And this is information that comes through in a multidimensional, interdimensional way. We can all do it. And what comes through is information from my client about their purpose, how they can activate their purpose and their best career paths, and also some mental blocks that we all have. And how they can maneuver around them. And it basically sets a blueprint for your life. You tell me what kind of life you want, and then I'll help you tweak your energy or your energetic matrices so you can create it and manifest it. And it's through these sessions. I've had thousands of them. I have clients all over the world, and every session with a client is a session for me too. And this is how I learned about the importance of our mind and our thoughts and the energetic matrices that we have. Now, science has caught up a little bit, and science is now admitting that there is a biofield, and we we radiate energy. And so science is right in tune with everything that we're talking about. We're actually talking about science when we talk about energetic matrices. This is not something that's just purely fantasy or purely theory. It's for real. And So, as one meditates and as one starts to raise their frequency, they come in contact with information and beings in other dimensions. We can call them spirit guides or dead people or other beings. There are beings in all the dimensions. Excuse me, there are beings in a variety of dimensions. There's an unlimited amount of dimensions with an unlimited amount of consciousnesses. And once you are focused and aware that you are communicating through, we can call it your paranormal skills, with your spirit guide or with dead people, you're going to then start communicating with otherworldly beings. And information comes through them too. Information comes through your spirit guides. Information comes through dead people. Information comes through other beings that are able to contact you telepathically.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here just in awe because I always sit like the day before and get a message from my guide Leonini, and what you just said was part of her message, which I will read later on in the show. Incredible. I'm just going, oh my gosh, that was my message from my guide. So that's how it's all connected. Now,
Yes.
I will tell my audience I've had 2 readings from Sev, and they were literally out of this world and extremely helpful.
Thank you.
And before I forget, Sev, how do people reach you if they want to set this up?
Oh, thank you. I have a website, planetsev.com. My email is sev@planetsev.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a newsletter. It's easy to find me.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. I didn't want to forget.
Thank
And
you.
the name of your book?
You have the right to talk to aliens.
Okay. Perfect segue because and I'm going to have Sev back if she'll come back to the show and we'll delve into this deeper. But Sev, am I correct in saying, now, before I go into this, dear audience, you know that my mantra again is with God, all things possible. All things are possible. What does that leave out? I happen to believe that the universe is just too big for us to be the only beings. So, and I've seen some things. But Sev, you're almost a lifelong UFO experiencer. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. And I was in denial up until 3 years ago.
In
Yes.
denial. What do you
Yes.
mean in denial?
Well, I
Go ahead.
didn't accept it to myself, and I certainly didn't talk about it with anybody because I was really afraid of what people were going to think of me. And this is really important because if we don't acknowledge our authenticity, if we don't acknowledge our experiences and our reality, then we're living in a fake way. We're not being authentic. And we know when you don't live authentically, that trouble ensues. It's when you live authentically that when you're aligned with your heart and your mind, and that your life actually becomes easier and much more interesting and much more successful.
That's true. And I have to say, when I think of extraterrestrials, I was going to look that meaning up, but I didn't. It means extraterrestrials. So there's civilizations out there that are extra than us, But I think of civilizations it's so much older than ours that have become enlightened, and they have moved up to a much higher vibration. And my UFO people aren't all these little gray aliens or going to come and blow up the earth. That's not who
No,
I
no.
think of. So with your UFO experiences, have you had direct contact with the beings, or do you do it through your channeling?
I have had direct contact, which started as a child. It started when I was 10 years old, and it continued my entire life. But despite being in denial about it, the experiences continued. And it really wasn't until about 5 years ago when I moved here to the Inner Banks of North Carolina, where I had direct contact with a gray that I could no longer deny. It forced me out of my comfort zone, and it made me face it.
Wow.
I was marked with 2 X's on my back. And I
Oh,
also have a conscious memory of lying on this table, paralyzed, with a gray doing something to my back. And so I had to deal with it. I absolutely had to deal with it. It was like an existential crisis. If I didn't deal with it, I was just going to lose my mind. And that was only about 3 years ago. So a lot has happened in 3 years. And
Wow.
that's my testimony that this was a very beneficial thing for me to face and to process and to accept, because my reality manifests in such a positive way since then.
Wow. So you feel that they were, this contact that you have is beneficial?
Yes, I didn't at the time because, like I said, I was a victim. I thought I was a victim. So I always thought that my ET experiences, they were victimizing me. Like, if my husbands are going to victimize me, then the aliens are going to victimize me too. What's the difference? But it's
I see.
not until I started working on my victim vibe, then I started to have a different perspective on all my ET contact. And I realized, oh no, they were not victimizing me. They were helping me. They were supporting me.
That's fascinating. Now, I will tell my audience that when you do these readings, and some of them, you contact the higher beings or the extraterrestrial beings, and she will bring messages forward. It's a fascinating a thing that you do. I don't know too many people that are able to contact the higher dimensional beings. I'm not talking angels and guides, and these are, I believe, advanced civilizations that are ancient. Would you agree with that?
Yes, there's a variety that you can talk with. There's some that have forms or bodies, and some that are just a collective consciousness. But another thing I plug into during a session is your energy and your spirit guide and your matrices. So it's not just getting interdimensional information from another being. I also plug into you, and it's a combination.
Wow. I highly recommend it. It was,
Oh,
the messages
thank you.
was fascinating and very revealing too. I
Yeah.
tell people when I do readings, I hope I don't tell you anything that you don't already know somewhere on your level,
Yeah.
in your heart, in your gut. And, that's what I look for when I get readings. Yeah. So, well, Sev, I have to wrap this up. I have a few things that I have to continue with, but I want to thank you so much for your time, for your honesty, for your insight, and for taking the time to join me today.
Can I come on for a second? Okay, thank you.
There you are.
Thank you for being patient with my internet situation, and I enjoyed it. I'm very grateful.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'll have you back and we'll delve into this, your UFO experiences a little deeper, if that
Okay.
is okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Sev.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Well, to me, that was fascinating. I hope you enjoyed that. And if I can bring up the next slide, Chris, please, because this kind of sums up what we were talking about. This is two beautiful orbs, and one almost looks like it's a reflection of the other orb. I'm describing these for my people who are just listening. The quote that I put there is, "Life is only a reflection of what we allow ourselves to see." So if you don't allow yourself to see beyond those limits that have been imposed on you by society, by your parents, by your teachers, even by yourself, then that's as far as you're going to see. That is an unknown quote. I don't know who quoted that. Thank you, Chris. I can also tell you that you can go back and see these slides here on OMTimes Radio, also on my website, theorbconnection.com. I have all the shows listed and the pictures, so you can zoom in and study them a little closer if you are so inclined. So I'm going to do a card reading first, and I got a new deck of cards just for this show, and it's called Starry Beginnings. So I'm going to shuffle the cards. I've only used this deck a couple times. It just arrived last week, and this is something that I do in every show. I will pull a card. Hopefully that helps you on your spiritual journey. But I'm going to pull the card, obviously, with this deck, with the intent that we get a message from the universe. And let me shuffle a little bit more here, and I will pull a card. Can you hear me shuffling? I'm shuffling. And it's a beautiful deck. So I'm going to shuffle these here. I have no idea. I haven't even, I've only pulled about 5 of these cards. So let's see what we get. So I'm pulling the card now. Okay. It says, you have a sensitive antenna, and sensitive people collect the emotions of others. Now, isn't that what we were just talking about? We are the reflection of what we think. We are sometimes a product of our environment, of what we are told, of what we are allowed to do or not allowed to do. And if you're a sensitive at all, that's going to weigh on you. So it's so important to do and I don't remember the correct terminology, is it's so important to do the self-work, to heal yourself, and to know yourself. Some of us, when we do this and we want to, okay, who am I? We don't want to go there, but you need to, because you need to bring it to light. You need to understand. And then a couple things happen. It's healed and you can release it. It's not that you forget it. You just look at it as a lesson, and then you can move on. Self-forgiveness is a big part of this too. I had a lot of work to do, but it's so freeing and so wonderful to be able to do that. So you have a sensitive antenna, and sometimes you collect the emotions of others. So don't forget to just clear yourself. What I tell people too is, if you're a bath person or a shower person, imagine that you're clearing and literally washing your aura. And that's one way. It's mainly setting the intent to clear off that emotion. So I was telling you earlier about my message from Leonini yesterday. So I'm so excited to read this to you, because it's like, wow, this so ties into everything we talked about. So here's her message. The universe. It means everything. But can you try to understand the immensity, the unlimited, the borderless realm that you exist in? Within the universe, even with its unlimited reach, all beings, all levels, all civilizations are still connected. You have the ability, yes, to communicate with those physically around you, but also the ability to communicate with those who exist in other dimensions, though the ways of communication and language may be different. So how do you communicate? By using the universal emotion of love. Source did not put limits on the creation of the universe, nor should you put limits on your abilities, because you come from that very source. When all reach out to one another, when all recognize the value of every soul, every creature, every being, you realize that even though you may have differences in vibration, language, realms, even bodies, and you and we are one. To bring it down to your earthly level, try to look at your fellow beings who may be different in so many ways with new eyes. Try to understand that whether you agree with them or not, that they too are aspects of Source, and they too have perfect souls. One day soon, you all will have the ability to see each individual, each perfect soul. For now, it is the one soul at a time, perhaps your soul, who shines their light and leads the way to this universal understanding and enlightenment. Whoa. I hope you enjoyed that message, because I thought it just, and I never know what Leonine is going to say when I sit down to channel. And yesterday I sat with the intent, can you channel something that would be pertinent for the show? And that's what she gave me. So that was incredible. So I have a little story. I promised that if anything happens in between shows with the Orbs, that I would share. And I do have a story. So if you're watching live, then last Sunday was Father's Day. And sometimes that's a tough holiday for people who have lost children. And of course, my son is in spirit. And 2 years after my son crossed, it was the second Father's Day. My husband was having a kind of a tough time, and I said, you know what? Let's go take a picture. Bring the furry kids in, and we will. There's the picture. Thank you, Chris. We will take a picture and ask Robbie to be in. So the picture on the left was about 10 years ago now, 12 years ago. And those 3 dogs that are with my husband, they're all in spirit now. But can you see the blue orb that's on my husband's forehead? This was really early in my orb photography career. And when I took the picture, I just said, Robbie, can you let us know that you're here? And that teal color orb, which is Robbie's orb color, when he appears in a teal color orb. It's right on my husband's head, as if to say, I know you're thinking about me. I'm thinking about you too. So this year, I said to my husband, I said, you know what? Let's try to recreate that photo that we took. And I said, we have 4 dogs now, 4 different dogs. And I said, so let's round up the dogs and try and get a picture. Well, the dogs were not nearly as cooperative, as you can see by the picture on the left, or excuse me, on my right. And but I took the picture anyway. And I said, Robbie, can you be with your dad? And when I took the picture, I hope you can see this. There's an orb again on my husband's forehead, as if to say, I know you're thinking about me again. I'm thinking about you too. But there's also an orb over his heart, as if I love you. I love you, Dad. And so this just made his day, as you can well imagine. So I wanted to share that with you because, again, it's confirmation that our loved ones are just in another dimension, but they're right by us. They're not up there. They're not down there. They're not over there. They are with us and respond. So that was kind of a fun one to share. So now I do have an announcement about next podcast, which is the second Thursday of July. I will have a special guest. Her name is Sandy Sedgebeer. And Sandy is an amazing editor and speaker, and she in fact has a show here on OMTimes. But she also has this wonderful thing that she's developed. It's called the No BS Spiritual Book Club. I don't know if you read a lot of books like I do. I'm always looking for books that, can move me along and teach me something new, but they have to be reputable. They have to be good, and there's thousands and thousands of these books out there, right? So what Sandy has done is develop this website. It's, like I said, called the No BS Spiritual Book Club, where she interviews people, mostly other authors, and they share their 10 best books. And it helps you to find the book, a reputable book that you can then have confidence in if you're going to buy it and take the time to read it. I will also tell you, I have to do full disclosure here. Sandy was the editor of my book. My books would not be in existence if it were not if it were not for Sandy, excuse me. And so I'm going to tell the fun story about that and how that came to be. But she's truly a mentor, but more than that now, she's one of my dear friends. So I'm going to have her on, and we'll talk about her spiritual journey and why she does this. And then we will also share some of the upcoming things in her world. And then I'm going to be traveling. She actually lives in England, and I will be traveling to England. I am super excited about this. One of the things on my bucket list has always been to go to Stonehenge. And of course, there's a million other things in England to see. So I'm going to be going there in September, and England and Wales. I'm super excited about it. And that's where Sandy lives. So I will be hanging out with Sandy too. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope it brought you some new ideas, new ways of looking at things. I want to thank you again for tuning in and for taking the time. And for now, I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.